Captain Saurabh Kalia's father is heartbroken. He's knocked on every door for justice but has just received lip service. Now he's moved to the Supreme Court. His reason: the government has ignored the torture inflicted on the brave soldier by Pakistani troops. It's CBM's cricket over justice for a brave heart. But the family makes a painful argument. Had this happened to a US or Israeli soldier, the culprits would have been hounded anywhere in the globe. How can Sourabh Kalia's memory be betrayed?
This is the story of Saurabh Singh Kalia, captain in the Indian Army and a Kargil war martyr who laid down his life in the defense of his motherland. He was the son of a hapless father who has been reduced to go begging for justice for his dead son. The Indian government has consistently chosen to ignore a brave heart for the sake of ties with an ever-belligerent Pakistan. Captain Kalia's father, retired scientist Dr. N K Kalia, has been battling for justice for his son for 13 years now. Getting no response from the government, he has knocked on the door of the country's apex court. Dr. Kalia wants the Indian government be directed to take up his son's case with the government of Pakistan and international human rights organizations. A father still in mourning wants India to exert pressure on Pakistan. He wants Pakistan to own up to the torture that was inflicted on his son, captured and later killed by the Pakistan army.
I have been approaching them through various means, but there were hardly any concrete of the output. This is my last hope. The Supreme Court has a very good image among the masses in the entire nation.
But N K Kalia has been let down at every level by Indian authorities. Neither the Ministry of External Affairs nor the Ministry of Home Affairs has taken up Captain Saurabh Kalia's case, despite several representations. Never has India put any pressure on Pakistan to act against those soldiers who inflicted horrible torture on the Indian officer.
We should consider seriously the tenability of this matter in the International Court of Justice as a criminal case.
This is a matter that we have, over the years, we have taken this up at the highest levels. We haven't yet certainly been able to get adequate sense of the matter being addressed.
Captain Kalia was held captive and subjected to brutal torture by Pakistan Rangers in 1999. It was his first posting, and that too in the Kargil sector. On 15th of May 1999, after a continuous crossfire with Pakistani forces from across the LOC, Captain Kalia and his troops ran out of ammunition. He was captured along with 5 soldiers of his patrolling team and held as prisoner of war in Pakistan. The soldiers were tortured in captivity for 22 days, after which their badly mutilated bodies were handed over to India. Is it not a shame that for promoting ties with Pakistan, India has denied justice to its own? Why is India not pursuing Captain Kalia's case with international human rights organizations? Why hasn't India put pressure on Pakistan to bring to book those who tortured India's brave soldier? Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
In this whole noise about Aman Kyasha, India seems to have forgotten that a young soldier was brutally tortured and murdered by Pakistani army officials. We haven't appealed in international courts. No pressure has been made to bear on Pakistan to act against the culprits. It's almost as if Captain Kalia was never killed. Joining us now is the former Chief of the Indian Army Staff, General V.P. Malik. He was Chief at the time of the Kargil operations. He went and visited Captain Kalia's family. We've got some questions for him. With me also in the studio is Colonel V.N. Thapa. He's the father of Vijayan Thapa, braveheart himself. He's been fighting on behalf of all Kargil victims. It's an honor to have you with us in the show this evening. Thank you very much. We've got General Shankar Prasad joining us on this broadcast as well. And from Palampur in Himachal, we've got Vaibhav Kalia. He's the brother of this Indian braveheart whom this nation has betrayed and forgotten. I want to go across first to the former chief. General Malik, when I spoke to the parents in the morning, they told me that you'd come and met them and that you made a promise that you would attempt to ensure that this matter is taken up at international fora. Several years have passed since. India seems to have gotten into a zone where it doesn't matter, no one cares, and we're not interested in even asking for justice. What happened? Why did the nation and its institutions betray this brave heart?
It's one of the saddest incident or event of the Kargil war. Saurabh Kalia and 5 colleagues of his from Fort Jat, they went out on a patrol and then they were missing for many days. Another patrol sent out to search for them also came back, and subsequently we learned that they had been taken prisoner on the other side. And the other side then told us that they would hand over the bodies. I'm not sure whether it is 9th of June or 18th of June when the bodies were handed over by them on the line of control close to Kargil. That is the time when we learned and when we saw that these people had been tortured and they had died in custody. We got the postmortem done. And immediately after that, I asked the DGMO to speak to his counterpart on the other side and tell them that this is what has happened with the bodies. Similarly, the DGM, I made him show the postmortem report to all the defense attaches, who were in Delhi. Many of them, they were shown these reports just to indicate that, look, this is what they have done to our brave soldiers. Now, yes, I did visit Sourabh Kalia's house, and I spoke to the parents, and I told them that yes, we'll take it up. I wrote a letter to the Minister of External Affairs, Shri Jaswant Singh, who had also incidentally said in a public interview that this was a barbaric act. I remember his using the word barbaric act on the part of the Pakistani army personnel who had captured this patrol. But from the Indian army, we cannot take these matters in international forum. From the government side, as the government functions, we ask the Ministry of External Affairs and they are supposed to take it up with the international forum. This is what I did. I wrote to the minister in charge and I requested him that, look, this matter needs to be taken up. Now, 3 things I would like to say. Firstly is that we only remember our brave hearts from event to event. Now that Sourabh Kalia's father has justifiably gone to the Supreme Court, now we are suddenly remembering. Nobody has remembered him earlier. Nobody from the government of India has gone to his house to console the family or to talk to them what they are doing. As far as I know, they have not been told what the Ministry of External Affairs or the government of India has been doing. And the third thing, of course, one has a lot of sympathies for the parents, and I can see the emotions. I can see the sentiment behind the whole thing. I think we have to realize that we must not leave such cases alone. They cannot be closed. These cases must go on if they have to, till some justice is done. Why haven't we spoken about this to General Musharraf or whoever, all these dignitaries from Pakistan who come to India?
No, because we are more interested in playing cricket with them. It almost seems as if the government of India isn't even interested in broaching this subject at all. I want to go across to Vaibhav Kalia. Vaibhav, did anybody from the government make any attempt at all to tell you about what attempts were being made by the MEA to put pressure on the Pakistan Foreign Ministry so that they would in turn try and find out from within the Pakistani army who did this to your brother? Was any such attempt made at all? Did anybody come and meet you?
No, sir. There was absolutely no attempt. No information was given to us by anyone from the government of India. It was only when the letters we wrote didn't give us appropriate replies. My father then filed an RTI, External Affairs Ministry, Defense Ministry, and from there we learned that the matter was just taken up in Pakistan, and government of India says it's a bilateral matter. So all issues in between India and Pakistan are bilateral. So we will not raise it internationally out of the scope of bilateral.
No, but this is absolutely not acceptable, Colonel Thapar. The fact is, here's a braveheart who's being betrayed by this nation. And as General Malik says, we can't pretend it didn't happen. We haven't even on our part attempted to reach out to Pakistan, put pressure. It seems the government of India couldn't care that this young officer is there.
Well, actually, while the discussion was going on, I noticed that possibly there are gaps when there was void about this particular case. It is not true. The fact is that ever since this incident happened, I have a book here with me. In 2000, it is graphic description of how Sourabh Kalia was treated is given. And thereafter, I have met his parents often, and they have been going around on some of the TV channels and trying to. There is a website on which lakhs of people have put in. So to feign ignorance of the kind that the government is doing is simply not acceptable. I was aghast when I heard the Minister for Foreign Affairs say that he doesn't know about this case, or he doesn't have adequate information about this case. He is living in India. He is heading the foreign ministry and he doesn't know about the case. The other people who are supposed to take up this matter.
This is amongst the most well-documented cases. This is the first Kargil martyr.
Yes.
Whether it's Bollywood, whether it's books by journalists or by analysts, the Sourabh Kalia case is featured prominently. The government can't feign ignorance. The fact is they've let people down.
They have been doing so, not only in this case, in many other cases. Look at the way the 71 prisoners of war thing is carrying on. And yet we have, like you said, cricket matches. We are more interested in Wasim Akram or some, even the channels have been carrying Musharraf. For what reason? Don't we have our own chief who could be called for the leadership summit? Where was the need to call him and then, try to appease him by all kinds of things? We had people saying, "Mere ko pakode khilaya" or "Mere ko ice cream khilaya." What is this going on?
General Shankar Prasad, what can be done? One is the outrage, which my concern is festers, as General Malik says, from event to event and then subsides. What can be done? Because we just saw the foreign minister, he's new to the job. It's not about whether he knows enough about it, it's the systemic, the institutional memory. Because it's the institution, that is the MEA, that needs to put pressure on Pakistan, which they haven't done.
Sorry, it's not because he's a minister and he's new to the job. He's an Indian. Every Indian knows about it.
Absolutely. Everybody knows about it. For him to say that he doesn't know, I'm sorry, General Shankar Prasad, is not an acceptable answer.
Rahul,
go on.
Both India and Pakistan are signatories to Geneva Convention. We are supposed to treat prisoners of war as laid down in the Geneva Convention. When 90,000 prisoners of Pakistan were taken by India in 1971, the kind of treatment that was given to them by the Indian Army and the Indian government is something that the entire world is very praiseworthy of. Today, why haven't we gone back to the Geneva Convention, to the United Nations, to the International Court of Justice, to the Human Rights Commission, so many international agencies, to say that why has Pakistan been permitted to carry on with activities such as what they've done to Saurabh Kalia? Can we please make a shindy out of it in the international forum? It is only then that pressure will come on Pakistan to understand what criminal acts they're doing against our people. We have fantastic past. We have 90,000 prisoners we looked after. They were looked after like really guests as per the Geneva Convention. And here they mutilated body of a young soldier and sent him back in a gunny bag. General Malik will remember that he is the one who passed the order that all Muslims killed, all people killed in the Kargil war from Pakistan will be given a burial as per their religion, and a Maulvi will be present. Those are photographs, those are videographed. All those details were submitted to Pakistan. The kind of funerals that we give under the directions of General Malik to Pakistani soldiers was something that the whole world saw. And here we are receiving a body in a gunny bag, mutilated, and yet keeping quiet. Rahul, the problem is that the government of India couldn't care less for a soldier today. Not only Saurabh Kalia, but so many others are dying in Kashmir today. Have we ever taken up a case of human rights violation against the soldiers of the Indian Army? Every day a case is registered under the Indian Army saying human rights violation in Kashmir, Assam, this, that and the other. Has anybody ever taken a case of human rights violation against the soldiers of the Indian Army who are killed brutally by these militants? I'm afraid we are absolute silent spectators to all of it.
General Malik, the case that the government of India is making and what they are telling Sourabh Kalia's family is that this is a bilateral matter between India and Pakistan, and therefore we don't want to go to the Geneva Convention, we don't want to go to the United Nations Human Rights Convention or take it up with any other body of the United Nations. Do you buy that argument that let India and Pakistan resolve it amongst themselves, let's not internationalize this problem?
Look, how there is a war between two nations. Every nation was concerned, every nation, the Americans were concerned, they were talking to us every day. How can you say it is only a bilateral matter? Of course, Pakistan has to take action indeed, but that doesn't stop us from going to International Court of Justice or raising it loudly, clearly in the international fora. I don't buy that stuff. The problem is, as Shankar is saying, there is not enough respect for our martyrs. Even today, I feel very sad that we just count them in numbers. They don't mean, except for a few people who have been decorated, and we sometimes see them on the TV screen. Otherwise, how many people remember the number of soldiers? Just the other day, the defense minister said 2,000 soldiers have died in last so many years. Does anybody know about these things? Does anybody remember their faces? So I'm afraid it's the attitude of the government. This is what I am saying, that I wrote a letter and I expected the Ministry of External Affairs to take action. The action cannot be only at a bilateral level. They should have really, when I hear the Minister of External Affairs saying that, look, it is a barbaric act, that barbaric act cannot be just left alone, then something has to happen. Some action should be taken.
Oh, absolutely. And Colonel Thapar, if this had happened to an American soldier or to an Israeli soldier, not just would they have gone after the Hamas or whoever the enemy was, they would have figured out which terrorists did it. Yes. They would have hounded them and smoked them out.
Well, it is only 2 or 3 days ago they have done it in Gaza.
Absolutely.
They have done it in Gaza. They have shown to us the way, and we are just soft peddling the whole issue. Even if it is a bilateral issue, why it has not been resolved till now? Even if it's a bilateral issue, the people who are responsible for this kind of carnage, they should have been taken to task and brought to the book.
But General Prasad, as Colonel Thapar says, even if you were to assume that this is a bilateral issue, in our case, we haven't even asked Pakistan yet, who are the people, which arm of the Pakistani army did they belong to? Can we know their identities? Can we know what's been done? For all you know, they are actually being decorated as war heroes in Pakistan.
Well, Pakistan still cares for their soldiers. Unfortunately, India doesn't care for their soldiers. Pakistan army cares for their people, for their soldiers, particularly those who fight a war. That doesn't happen here. It's so sad. Not only, Saurabh is one issue which we have to bring today at the fore. But look at what General Malik said, 2,000 people, the Raksha Mantri just said it on the floor of the parliament yesterday, as reported in newspapers today. And we had no idea what happened to them. Was there human rights violation against them? Did anyone speak? The problem is that, soldiers are meant to die. Very good. Soldiers are meant to die, and somebody who asks the bureaucracy and the bureaucrats, they say, oh, well, they're paid to die. Come on, man. We are paid to secure the country. We are paid to fight for the country. We are paid to see that people sleep peacefully at night. And that's why thousands of people are on patrol tonight. And some of them will get into ambush. And some people will die. And we will not care for them.
Also, what confidence as a nation do we give our soldiers? If this is how abysmally we treat our war heroes, what confidence are we giving the current and future generation of officers? The MEA has been ignoring this desperate father's appeals for over a decade now, and Headlines Today has been able to access some communication between Rajya Sabha MP Rajiv Chandrasekhar and the Ministry of External Affairs, in which this MP is actually writing to the government of India, asking them for action to be taken in international fora against the terrorists, the butchers who so badly mutilated the body of Captain Kalia. My colleague Shivaru takes you through how ineffectual and weak the government of India's response has been.
Headlines Today has more evidence of the shocking betrayal meted out to Kargil hero Captain Sourabh Kalia and his father by the Indian government. The External Affairs Ministry chose to hand out a shockingly casual response. We've got an exclusive copy here, ignoring the martyr's father's 13-year-long battle to get some measure of justice for his dead son. We're putting out a series of letters, I've got them in my hand right now, that we've accessed in this case. Letters written by Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament Rajiv Chandrasekhar, who took up Captain Kalia's case with the External Affairs Ministry. In his letter to then External Affairs Minister S.M. Krishna last month, the MP had asked the Indian government to forcefully take up the case with Islamabad. The MP had highlighted the inhuman torture by Pakistani troops and had demanded that necessary action be taken to declare this a war crime and actually up the ante against Pakistan. And this is the response that the then External Affairs Minister had actually given to Rajiv Chandrasekhar. Casual, weak, totally shocking. Read it for yourself. In his letter, the minister had lamented the lack of a response despite the ministry's quote-unquote best efforts. That's what they call best efforts over a 13-year period. Well, the Rajya Sabha MP had been stunned by the MEA's casual approach. 13 years after the brutal tragedy, it was clear from S.M. Krishna's letter that the government hadn't initiated any meaningful action. The MP had even gone on to say that seeking justice for Captain Kalia mustn't be seen as an act against Pakistan.
No action, zero action by the government of India. This is just treating our war heroes in the most shameful fashion. Vaibhav Kalia, are you hopeful now that your parents have approached the Supreme Court that the government will be forced to act? Because in our country, most of the time it's the government which is coerced into action, it never volunteers. Or do you think, given this whole Aman Ki Asha business, given the fact that the Prime Minister is still contemplating a visit to Pakistan early next year before elections in that country, that the government, it just doesn't suit their political agenda and therefore they won't do it?
Sir, I would first like to say that the human rights organizations which are working in India and the international organizations, they have a single point agenda that a man in uniform is not a human, he has no rights. Nobody defends a soldier for his human rights. That's the first point. Second is the government of India disowns its soldiers and the issues of the soldiers. Be it the issue of retired soldiers, serving soldiers or martyrs. The problem this country will face is on the day when the soldiers will start disowning this country. They don't do it because they are disciplined soldiers. So some sort of perception of shame should be perceived by the government that somebody is ready to die for them. They should take care of that person.
No, because the Babus couldn't care. They're sitting in an air-conditioned office, Colonel Thapar. It doesn't bother them at all. The mantris have this big lal batti on their car. They're roaming around. What Vaibhav is saying is very true. There might come a day when a soldier will say, I don't think it's worth it. Why should I give out my life when my nation doesn't care, when my political masters don't care?
In fact, I won't go to that extent. I hope the day doesn't come when the soldiers do a thing like that. And we wake up to the requirements of the service, and start taking care of all these matters. It is very pathetic. It's very pathetic that we have left this whole issue as a single point agenda for Sourabh Kalia's father to take the matter. This is
not his battle. This is our battle.
This is a national issue, and we should take it up as a nation. We should take it up as a army, we should take it up as at all levels, whatever levels. We can't keep on soft pedaling the issues with Pakistan, whether it is Aman Ki Yatra, whether it is cricket matches, whether it is some trade and bilateral talks and things like that. These are all secondary. First is, are we going into a state where the armed forces feel so left out or so ignored that they are not able to deliver the goods
This
at
is
time?
shameful for the entire nation, and I just hope that the powers that be, realize their folly and they act in time, because we can't have, brave hearts like Saurabh Kalia dying and the nation pretending as if it didn't happen or it didn't matter. Vaibhav Kalia, all I can say on behalf of Headlines today is that you're not alone. Your family is not alone in this battle. All of us will work together and try and secure justice, or whatever can now be done to ensure that at least the government of India makes attempts to find out who those people are. Whether Pakistan acts against these perpetrators or not is a different matter, but for India not to care is what irks me the most. General Shankar Prasad, Vaibhav Kalia, thank you very much. Colonel Thapa, also to General VP Malik for joining us on center stage tonight. Thank you very much, sir. We'll keep tracking the story very, very closely. Twice in a week, we've had an absolutely shocking story where soldiers have just not been respected, whether it was in the case of those who got injured in 26/11 or what happened in Kargil. It just seems as if India doesn't care, and then we expect these young people to lay down their lives for us. This is not done. It's very shameful and shocking.